Yes?
Okay, so, welcome back. Right. I think we're going to start with Lisa. There was a check you wanted to make, or something you want to do.
Yeah, I was wondering if there's some sort of intelligence check I could make about that alien spaceship, like if it sort of resembles anything I've ever read about in any of my like in nature or anything like that.
Oh, okay, that one.
Like if I could somehow figure out what the electromagnetic pulse is,
Yeah,
maybe.
ooh, that would be a technical physics, I think. Knowledge roll? To sort of see if you
Damn.
have any idea how that might work.
Yeah, I was hoping to base that maybe on like sort of
You would.
historical stuff, but I
Okay,
could.
so you're talking more about, like, anything you've heard of that does something
And
similar.
that does a similar thing, yeah. That it might be a
Okay,
start to
that'd be
research.
just flat history then. Or historical.
Flat history, okay.
Would you be wondering this out loud? Because if so,
Yeah.
I would roll technical physics.
I was also going to try as well.
Well, I'll roll this first, and if I figure it out by myself, then I don't need you. Lol. Flat history. No, I'll wonder it out loud.
Doesn't like that modifier, right? 16, 20, and 12.
I just rolled really low.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dang,
Yeah,
I rolled a 5 out of 3.
Yeah.
That's pretty yikes.
Okay. So. Theo. There is nothing that just drains the power out of a ship just by its presence, as far as you've ever heard. Or just seems to remove power from a room just by being in it, or anything like that. The closest thing you've ever heard of is sort of an ancient weapon which is now completely ineffective. That was very much a one-time sort of burst that used to disrupt old technology, but those don't work anymore. Basically an EMP. Being a bit of a history buff, you would have heard about them, but they're an old tech that basically nothing would be affected by that anymore. Because it's all hardened against that. But yeah, unfortunately, you're not getting the idea. Lexie, Kit, both of you, unfortunately, again, have no idea how this happens. The similar idea would probably cross your mind that, hey, if this wasn't hardened, it could have been something like that, but then it wouldn't come back and it wouldn't be consistent.
Yeah, and it wouldn't be permanent or like
Yeah.
due to in proximity.
You're like, no, it's not that, but you don't know what it is. Unfortunately, you've no idea, either of you.
Okay.
As you guys sort of mull it over briefly, you can't seem to work out what it could be.
If this thing's as old as the Proby, it's entirely possible there's just technology we don't have or understand yet. So that's a thing. But anyway, I don't want to leave the station until we get the transmission through. So, Theodosia, you want to go see the plants. I think I need to go look at the seedier areas and see if I can find anything.
Same.
I'd imagine Seraph is coming with me there. And I'll pretty much... We can have some time apart for a couple of days. I'll contact you when I get the thing through, and then we can head off. Because I don't want to go to the ring world and have any presence there until the last moment possible. But yeah.
What do you guys want to buy from? I have I know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy.
That knows a guy, or just is that the guy?
That's I think that's a guy. There might be one more in between. But
Okay.
what do you want? As you can see if I can.
Let's see what he's got in stock.
Okay.
That's the way to go, I think. Anyone else need anything, by the way?
Lexi, you'd know with people like that, it's usually I give you this money, you make sure this stuff turns up in a bag at this place.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's less of what he's got in stock, and it's more just
What he can get his hands on.
yeah.
I'll have a wee talk to him then.
Okay.
But yeah.
Uh,
Anyone else need anything? Could be,
Well, extra batteries would be kind of nice, just in case.
I would
this
go to
mag
somewhere
might
more
work.
legitimate for them.
Alright, that's fair.
Yeah,
I would
you could
imagine.
easily buy those on one of the promenades.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm going there later as well. I want a couple of stuff for some modifications I'm thinking of.
Chem Knights, Yargon, are they something I need to go to the black market, or can I get them in?
A chemlite, you would probably be able to get some of those stuff at some kind of like
Like a
exploration,
drink store? Yeah,
like
exploration.
hiking, that kind of type.
Yeah.
Very yeah, you'd absolutely be able to get some there. But the other thing you mentioned, some kind of like chemical detonators, you'd have to go get at a dodgy place or make yourself.
Yeah, basically, it's either I want to get them, or I want to at least get the materials to make them myself.
Yeah, making them self would be a chemistry check. So
Yeah, I'm pretty good in chemistry.
yeah, so it's up to you.
Yeah. I'll still see this.
Okay, so what's everyone going to be doing over? Is it 2 days? Are you guys going to take the whole 2 days?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
okay,
I want to learn. I'm treating this like a fucking school field trip, my dude.
okay.
I
So
want to see the plants. I want all the tourist places. I want all the museums.
okay.
That's what I want.
So you're going museum watching, museum hopping. There's quite a lot to see. There's a lot of history you've heard about. There's a lot of history you haven't heard about. There's a lot of things to see here and to do.
And quite a few plants.
There are actually not very many plants, and honestly, slightly disappointingly boring looking. But also, you're looking at the only known surviving remnants of Terra Maxima, so there's that.
So I might have just thought about like how they were sort of boring looking for like half a second, and then just gone back into the, oh my god, it's the only surviving plants from Terra. What? You
Yeah.
know?
I mean,
I'm a history professor, you guys.
We noticed.
one thing that would strike you as a history professor, as a professor, you would know of, or have at least seen pictures of Aegis, which is a world that was found a while ago. They bear a striking resemblance to the things found on Aegis. It's weird. It's really, really similar, and it sort of shouldn't be, because these things grow up in completely different ecosystems most of the time, and they never look anything alike. At least based on the few habitable planets you've been to. It's really strange that they should share such a resemblance. Just the sort of the green leaves, the structures of the leaves, the structures of the actual plant itself. It's not entirely your thing, but it does look a little bit like weirdly similar. Like for a moment you could mistake it as this is from Aegis, but it's not.
Okay, well in that case I'll just start taking pretty detailed notes about anything I can think of them, anything I can find about them, and any of that, and anything I can think of with Aegis, and like make notes in my notebook, and then I'm gonna just start researching that in a later research binge that I'm probably gonna go just going, wow, why are they similar? Ooh, might write an essay about this. Ooh.
Okay. Yeah, so you start taking notes, and you go through the different museums and note down everything you can think of, and yeah, okay. Whilst that's happening, what's everyone else doing?
Me and Ket are going to the black market guy, so,
Okay.
or the dodgy guy.
You two are going to the black market. Seraph, where are you going?
I'm probably gonna be following Theo, kind of like not too closely behind, but just like within a like visual range.
Keeping an eye on her.
Bodyguard.
Alright.
Yeah.
I'm
Charlie-
not looking at anything else, I'm just looking at the things that I'm researching.
I know, but there
Okay.
might be other things looking.
Yeah, I would go to the black market and then with Seraph to get batteries and some other electronic.
Just before we get to that, Charlissandra and Ray, what are you two doing?
Also with thingy.
Me,
Lexie, Theo?
Seraph,
Wake up, Rick.
I'm here.
Lexie or Theo?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, I was like, I'm not muted, right?
Yeah, no, you're here. Also with who?
If the
Go.
fuck Lexie said. Yeah.
Lexie.
That's-
Okay.
Yeah.
Ray, what's your plan?
Probably going out on my own, looking for like a shooting place where you can train a little with my sniper and yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you'll be able to find some of that sort of thing. You're probably going to be much more adept than most of the people here, just because most of the people here are either military personnel who really know what they're doing, or civilians that don't really have much of a clue. Okay, so we'll start with Black Market guys. You,
Yep.
3, 4, are heading off.
Yeah.
3 are heading off to the to look for Black Market. You make your way through the station, and you eventually come to a relatively sort of shady-looking. I wouldn't say like restaurant. It's more of like a stall that's set up that sells noodles.
I'll be leading the way, kind of thing.
Yeah, and you arrive. You talk to the bartender. Well, he's not really a bartender, but he's like serving drinks and he's serving noodles. Kind of a bartender. Either way, you order a dish that you would know is pretty typical among these things. But you basically order steak noodles, and he takes you through to a back room where there is some more.
We get given steak noodles as well.
No, you don't.
Oh.
I'm like, we want the steak noodle, wink, wink, and I also want the steak noodle and a beer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You get regular noodles, and shown through to a back room where there are a number of really dodgy-looking people around.
I go through and eat
Yeah, one of whom is a sort of it's a Dulac man. He's completely black. He's quite a rare sight. He's a Zyavenian, which the ones with the 4 like Zyatendris.
Wait, completely black?
Yeah, like almost like pitch black. He's
Oh fuck.
yeah, he's got 4 Cyatendris, and like even the whites of his eyes are like a dull grey. He's really like could like hide in any shadow, just completely disappear into the darkness, kind of like black. And he sort of looks up at you, seeming to wear this like basically bright white suit, which stands out a little.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And he sort of looks over at you. So, why do you come here?
Well, we heard that you can get some stuff that isn't technically illegal. Yeah, are you the right man?
I am the man for that job. I can find anything you need. What do you need?
Can you get me 20 chemical detonators?
Chemical detonators. What kind of these detonators would you need? You are looking for something particularly potent, or to activate something else?
Usually explosives.
Just detonators, or do you want the whole package?
I mean, if you have some extra explosives laying around, probably
Oh,
plastic,
well.
it would be wonderful.
We have a few. Alright. You're staying here at this station, I presume?
Yeah, for 2 more days. Can you get that?
2 days. I can do that. I can do that. An express delivery. Of which ship are you with?
I give I would I know a location relatively close by that I can pick up stuff at? Or is
Yeah.
it okay? Yeah, I'll just like name
Do a
that
dead drop
location
rather
basically
than-
as a drop-off point.
Ah, that is not a ship, but it is doable. Alright, alright. I can assure that a backpack would be left there with the things you require by tomorrow evening.
Other one.
Wonderful.
One other thing.
My friends want some as well.
What's
Yeah.
that?
Sub-vocalizers? Got any of them? No?
I do, but then a little pricey. If you have the
Ooh.
coin,
Depends how much coin you need.
well, I can let them go for around 5,000 each. They're
5,000.
very rare these days.
I see that.
Yes, the Alliance crackdown has been most difficult.
What have they been cracking down?
Yeah,
Right.
is that 5,000 credits?
Yes,
Okay.
per sub vocalizer. They're fucking expensive.
I've noticed. I think.
But for these explosives, I can do that for maybe 1,000 credits. In chips, of course. We wouldn't want a transfer. That we don't do that here.
No, obviously.
Obviously. You able to do a special deal for 2 of these sub vocalizers?
I could sell them for 11,000 credits if you want me to.
I was meaning the other direction. 9?
That's a little cheap. I'm afraid they're very difficult to come by.
Fair enough.
I'm going to stick with my guns.
I'll take 2 then.
10,500 credits, then?
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
I take out 500 credits and put them on the table.
Yeah, you just take out 500 credit chips. I assume actually you guys probably keep most of your money in chips at this point.
Definitely keep his all his money in chips.
Yeah. I would sort
yeah,
out that
Caitlin.
he gets 10k over.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very well. The dead drop. You'll find there is a bag there with the things you need. It'll be a black unmarked bag with a single pink emblem on the front. You'll find it easy enough tomorrow morning around 10:30 p.m. ship time. AM ship time.
Thank you. Have a lovely day.
And you.
I finished my noodles and head off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just turn around.
So you guys then head on out, and you're looking for basically shops to go.
Yeah.
Find bits to prepare. Okay. Well, what sort of things are you looking to prepare with? What are you looking for? Obviously, extra batteries for
Right. I
What's
need
his name?
quite a lot of small
Seraph.
caps.
yeah, Seraph. Okay.
So small capacitors.
What was that?
All right.
A couple of microprocessor boards, a couple of microcontrollers.
Right. What are you wanting to do?
I'm not sure yet, but I'm going to find out.
Right. Okay. Most of this stuff doesn't work exactly how it does modern day Lewis, you know, being
Yeah.
significantly far in the future.
Yeah.
A lot of this stuff will just be sort of, we'll just call it like components.
Yeah.
But you're looking for essentially really small stuff.
Yeah. Small.
Micro components, okay.
Yeah, microprocessor, microcontroller, because they're both slightly different. A relay and some batteries. Like,
Right, okay.
I'll get.
What are you thinking of doing with this?
As I said, I'm not quite sure yet, but I've got a couple of ideas. I'll work it out closer to time. I'll need to speak to you out.
Right,
Another
okay. Sure. We'll talk out of session. Okay.
Yeah.
So,
I'm
it's sort of hard to tell. How much do you want to sort of drop on this project?
I'll get an endless supply of small capacitors, so that'll be, I don't know, 5 credits.
Sort of.
That cheap as fuck.
Small capacitors would be sort of more. If you want to put like 10, 20 credits into nigh endless supply of most of these things, because again, most of it, even the complicated machine, it's basically mass produced throughout the galaxy. You can get hold of most of the stuff pretty cheap.
Yeah, so can I get pretty much all of that pretty cheap for like 20 credits, did you say? Or 20
Yeah,
credits each?
honestly, yeah, around that. Looking at the batteries, that's energy crystals. And that's where we're starting to get into actually dropping some money on things. So, what are you looking at for that?
In fact, wait, let's just quickly see how many energy crystals I've got. Because I remember I've got quite a few, in fact.
Are we talking... But
Well,
again, it depends what you want to do. Because you
Yeah.
may want class 2 energy crystals, which are
Yeah.
significantly more expensive.
Can I get 20 class 2s?
Yeah, you can get those for base price.
In fact, 10 class 2s.
Sure, you can get those for base price.
How much are they?
Let me just pull it up. They are... energy crystal, class 2, 5 credits each.
Alright, so that's a...
50.
Yeah, I'll get 20.
Okay, it's 100 credits.
Yeah, that's doable.
Cool.
And then that'll be everything.
Okay.
How much does chem lights cost?
Chem lights, pretty cheap. I'd say you can get, like, let's call it 10 to the credit.
Okay, yeah.
Pretty cheap as far as these things go. Yeah, they're 100 marks each.
Yeah, I will buy like 20 of them.
Okay, sure. So, like 2 credits.
Yeah, 2 credits of them.
Yeah. They'll each last you about half an hour, I'd say.
Oh, okay.
They give off they're not particularly bright. They'll last you about half an hour. Yeah. If you want to get something that's like actually really bright, you could, but you would start putting reasonable chunks of money into it.
Yeah, no, it's like just as
if you want like the mass-produced
if the
ones.
ship goes completely dark, I want enough to be able to walk around.
Yeah, these would do that just fine.
Yeah. Basically, yeah. Cave.
Yes.
Can I also buy use 100 credits on basically like knickknacks that basically like the same servo motor, different types of basically electronic parts, so I can basically say, hey, this is like general electronic parts.
Yeah. So again, more just components.
Yeah, components.
Yeah. If you put
100 of them.
Yeah, if you put 100 credits into that, you can get a reasonably decent supply of the more complicated electronics that you're after.
Yeah, I know.
Like servos and like that like MOSFETs, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm gonna spend 100 credits on this.
Yeah, okay.
Almost it would be cheaper than capacitors, to be honest. They're cheap as fuck even now.
Well, yeah, I'm not the electrical engineer here.
I know.
I'm just using electronics words because I'm thinking of everything, but not, again, much past. LEDs, blow up if you put them in the wrong way, right? That's about as far as my knowledge goes.
Only if the voltage is high enough.
Well, yeah, obviously.
Otherwise, they do fuck all.
I mean, it's basically just a shit ton of different,
Yeah, they only blow up
different
at...
chips, different...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. A 1.6 volt LED won't blow up until 100 volts, probably.
Yeah, I know.
It's quite high.
Okay.
In reverse polarity, that is.
So, that's you. That's sort of you two?
Yeah.
Alright, okay. The dead drop is exactly to the minute when he says it'll be there. If you're there at the time he says, it's there. Yeah.
Yep.
You see a man just walk past and just seem to accidentally drop a bag. And you pick it up. Yeah, it's got everything you ordered in it. Alright. So,
I would probably dump the bag, by the way.
okay. Yeah, you can dump the bag if you choose.
Yeah, just so it's not on us, but we'll take the stuff out first, obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Okay. So, yeah, you dump the bag, you get that stuff, you sort of smuggle it back onto the ship, and sure. Yeah. You got time to do that.
And
so,
I would give Liz the other sub-vocalizer, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, so, that's you two out of the way. So, or you three, I guess. If Liz isn't really doing anything other than just sort of sticking with you guys.
Yeah.
In that case, Ray. You are... So, you're going to look for shooting range. You're going to go sort of practice your marksmanship, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay. You find a number of shooting ranges, but none of them have the actual range you're looking for at first. And it's a bit disappointing, but you go around a few of them and you manage to hit basically every target without even needing to try. It's kind of... You've put a lot of time into your what you do, and it's quite clear that these are not set up for people with anywhere near that level of skill. They're much more set up for the sort of tourists that seem to come around here who want to try their hand at weaponry. And you also notice there's a lot of older style weaponry that people can try. Some of it really old. There's even appears to be some kind of like explosive based weaponry.
Something for kid.
Well, it's something sort of. It's more like a modern like IRL gun. It seems to like have an explosion in the gun and then it like fires a thing. It's strange and outdated. But if people want to try that, because that was the sort of technology they had when the history was made here, then that's available. But just trying to practice your aim here, not the best. However, you will find yourself approached by a man after some time, as you're seen at like one or two of these ranges, a day or so in. Who again appears to be the same man I described before. Actually, this completely, just almost completely pitch black Dulac. He's about 140 centimeters tall, so sort of in that mid range, and
Pretty small.
Real short.
Yeah.
yeah. Sorry, I'm thinking of friends. Yeah, he would be short at that height. Yeah, with the 4 Zytendris marking him as Zaya Venyan, as he approaches you, white, completely immaculate suit, and he like watches you firing away for a few moments, and then sort of pipes up. Well, that is quite the impressive aims you have there.
I'm going to shortly inspect him with my perceptive perks and then answer him.
Okay.
Thank you. What do you want? Is there something you want, or?
I am just admiring the, and he sort of like gestures to the range, the skill on display. It is not every day that we see the marksmen here. I might ask, where are you from? You do not seem to be from around this part.
Well, far away, I'd say. And thank you very much. I'm just on the travel through the galaxy,
Ah,
so
very curious.
won't stay here for long.
You wouldn't happen to be with another crew of explosively minded individuals, would you?
Explosively minded?
Yes, a particularly explosively minded Freyon individual with only one ear.
I'm not sure what you mean. Do you know this person? Do you want something from him, or?
We have met, we have done business. But it is not every day that we see interesting people at this station. I just want to know who it is that is making their way through. It's my business to know these things, you see.
Oh, I see, okay. So, what kind of business do you have? Is it like...
Oh, I run a small noodle shop.
I see, okay. Like, do you know anyone I should know here in the area?
I know there's a lot of people. There are many fellow business owners in these parts. It depends what you want to know.
Do you know someone who probably knows something about, I don't know, ring worlds, ring systems? Especially the ones in the area, probably?
Oh, you are curious about the Ring World. Well, I might know a person or two that perhaps has been there, perhaps has some hands in investigating some of the ongoing science on board them.
Would you mind probably giving me their contact or an address?
I could do, but I would want to know, why are you interested in this? And how much are you willing to pay for this? Information is worth a lot of money out here.
Well, there's no particular reason, just I'm in the area. Why not check out some?
Well, in that case, there are some great guided tours of the local Ving worlds that you can embark on. And he sort of gestures over, kind of in the direction where you can see, like, up the inside of this cylinder. You see what appears to be like a shuttle sitting on a landing pad that you can embark on over there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Have a
Is there something
wonderful
else?
day. No, that is all. I'm interested in the interesting people that pass through my domain. Have
I
a
see.
wonderful day. He sort of turns on a boot heel, begins to walk away.
It was
Should've
impressive.
got
You
that
didn't
information.
tell him anything. Like, at all. He got nothing from you. I'm impressed.
From me,
No.
thanks.
I thought you had a trope where you meant to tell the truth constantly.
Yeah, she also
Yeah.
didn't lie to him at all, so, you know, just didn't say anything useful. It
Right.
works. Yeah.
We probably should have asked about that, to be fair, but sure.
Yeah. I was like, this is what we should have done. We are idiots. well.
Immediately came up and started, and just thought, shit, we should have asked about information. They're
Yeah.
the people that know.
I have a charisma of -2, okay?
Well done,
I'm
guys.
on the charisma of -1.
Psh.
Is there, like, a library on this train station?
A physical library? Yeah, maybe. It's gonna be really, really expensive, though. You could probably get access to a holo library pretty cheap, though, if not free.
Okay. I'll go to, like, a library and do some of my own research into, like, the surrounding ring worlds and what you might be expecting in them.
Okay. As it seems to sort of occur to you after a day or so of gawking at things in museums, writing things down,
Yeah.
and generally dragging Seraph among a lot of things he probably doesn't really care as much as you do about. A lot of old ruins. You eventually,
It's great. Good time.
you eventually hit up a library, and yeah, what sort of thing are you looking into specifically?
Well, the specific world that we're going to, if there's anything, like, any sort of information on sort of what the ecosystem is the world inhabited that we're going to?
Yeah, heavily.
Okay.
After Capitol Spire, it became the next sort of center of the Alliance for a short time.
Mm.
So yeah.
I would guess maybe any information about, like, the place that we're going to, like the Priority, like, ruin thing.
Okay.
If there's any sort
Um.
of additional information on top of what I already know about it.
Okay. Go ahead and give me a what's it in the system? It would be a. I guess in this case, just an intelligence check to research things.
Can I help her?
Yeah. Go ahead and do an intelligence check with advantage then.
I do it with advantage.
Yeah, if he's helping.
Dope.
Nice.
An anti-crit and 21. Wonderful.
What's
so,
an anti-crit? What?
I
sweet.
10 and a 1.
One's 10 or above, and the other is 0.
Oh, damn.
Is a 1,
Okay.
which means that nothing special happens. They cancel out.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I've never seen that.
And yeah, because sort of a crit system and a 2 dice kind of doesn't work without that. And then you have the 21, so that's what we'll go with. So, with a 21, you're looking into any information on the ring world, and in more particular, underneath the ring world. First of all, you would find, eventually, after some research, pretty heavily buried. It's not the most well-used book, but you do find one of the holo novels here. describes the structure of the ring world on a sort of grand scale, talking about how there's a thin layer that has all of the sort of things that people live on, and then underneath that, which is sort of further out, so it's actually slightly bigger, there is the layer where there's all this infrastructure built that keeps everything working, and then underneath that there's a massive empty space where there's a huge selection of these giant, essentially particle accelerators that pass underneath, where they have these beams of particles that are constantly spinning at insane rates and insane volumes, and then how there's control stations for those all along the ring, and how that's all connected up, and how then after that there's another sort of hugely thick section where there's sort of almost acting as an armor, so that it doesn't really matter what hits the ring. You could crash a moon into it and it probably wouldn't get down to that inner portion. And how there's a whole bunch of tunnels and rooms, and you could have a civilization down there and people probably wouldn't notice, because there's self-sustaining laboratories and things under a number of these things in the ring worlds, and some of them near the sort of outermost edge, which is also referred to as the deepest point, having been explored on some of the ring worlds, but it's just theorized there's way more than anyone's ever actually seen, and there could even be Priori tech down there that's still functioning. Being near the center, one thing you do know is that there is a number of access points to this huge central hollow space inside the ring, where you can you would be able to fly a battle cruiser down it with no issue. And essentially, this interior space, to get to it, there are huge openings along it, where maybe this is where they poured matter into these tubes or something like that. That's sort of the theory that's given. But there are a number of these huge circular ports all across the outer surface of the ring that you can, that if you can open them, and no one's ever actually done it, it's just sort of theorized they open because they look like ports, then you'd be able to get inside, and you'd be able to fly right up to this interior, but they're really heavily guarded, usually, by either some kind of Priori tech that is now long since dead, or by essentially just they're sealed off and there's no way to get at them at the control stations to open them. And there is also a number of much smaller access points that would fit a reasonably sized shuttle down quite handily, which are much easier to open, it seems. And it's as if these are designed for people working inside some of these laboratories. It's only a 21, so you don't find any of these specifically on the section of the ring world you're looking at, but you do sort of find how to find them, if that makes sense. You find a list that shows all of the sort of key points of how to find these things, and also how to open them from the outside, which includes sort of a number of locks that you have to basically get past. Depending on the ring world, it's been as simple as just have pull two levers at once, or multiple layers of encrypted passkey locks, and 7-digit codes and that kind of stuff, just to try and get one of these doors open. And it does seem to be the more heavily secured the door is, the more valuable whatever's behind it, also the harder to get at. And obviously, cracking these things open is near impossible, because whatever the ring worlds are made of, which it's not entirely known, seems to be bloody tough compared to modern weaponry, and they just they can barely put a scratch in it. You just can't seem to get these things open. And it seems to be the only way really is to get through the door by unlocking it.
Does it say like how to unlock the doors, or is it just like an explanation of what usually keeps it locked?
It's sort of an explanation of here's a few cases of how they got in. Each one so far has been different.
Right. Okay.
So they don't know for the... You won't know for the specific, but you get a sort of rough idea that with whatever's here being valuable and particularly close to the centre of this ring world, it's probably going to be really tough to get in. And just by looking at it, you can tell that you could probably fly your ship down it if it doesn't bend too much. Because your ship's quite long, so if it bends much, it might not work. But the width and diameter of some of these tunnels, you could probably fit your ship down.
Well, I'll take notes of all of that and like bring all of that to Lexie as well.
Okay, so
Okay.
Before we
keynotes
can.
here, can I just quickly get the Cliff Note keynotes here? Effectively, there is a opening that we may or may not be able to open and get our entire ship in, possibly near where we're going. Right?
Sort of. It's a little bit more nuanced than that, but yes. Before we continue, though, Seraph.
Oh yes, okay. I wasn't sure whether you were referring to me or not. Yeah, I just wanted to see if I could do any research on anything that's, any ancient artifacts that would drain energy, or any machinery that is known that does drain energy in the same fashion or nature that we have seen the
Alright.
Green Triangle do. So.
Go ahead and give me... Yeah, that again, research, so just an intelligence check.
Can I help him with that then too? Because he helped me.
Yeah. So,
Technically, we're just
Right.
researching together.
So
I have
plus
expertise.
two.
Do you want me to roll?
this would be
Yeah,
him rolling,
I would.
but it would
right,
be
okay.
with advantage.
Right. Okay, that's too bad. But yeah, it's just +2, right?
Just plus your intelligence.
Plus my intelligence, so 2.
And if you're proficient or expertise, then add that.
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
Roll stat. No, submit, and then 2. Then I think that should do the trick.
Wow.
12. Huh, that's odd. Those are
Wow.
slim dice. 2 and 8 and 4 and 6. No, they're not. So, you
Find nothing.
struggle to find things, but you don't find nothing. As you're going through this research, you come across a piece of documentation of an artifact that was recovered from a Priorby facility on the fringes of known space.
Yeah.
That's sort of way out past past Deep Sec 1, so down here, way out in this direction. Like right on the edge of the galaxy, on the edge of the arm, there was a single artifact found. It's a strange black crystal that seems to not drain energy, but it seems to sort of slowly absorb it. If you
That.
what?
I think we flew through that, didn't we?
No, not that. That was different.
Oh, that was different. All right.
That was a weird anomaly thing that you found that ate data. No,
Yeah.
this is it was a crystal. It was about the size of like your forearm. So in your case, yeah, about the size of your forearm. So about like let's say like 40 centimeters long. It's actually quite 40 centimeters.
Yeah.
Maybe like that, because you're really lanky. So
Yeah.
quite big. But then like quite thin.
Right.
And so
So like my forearm.
yeah. But it's this like long thin crystal that sort of it's like just matte black. You can't like it doesn't reflect any light. It's not shiny at all. It seems to be completely matte black. You can't like when you're looking at it, you can't tell it's 3D. It's really weird. In that it just seems to absorb all the light. And if you like put it next to a screen, the screen will sort of dim. And like if you just leave it next to a like a data tablet or whatever, the data tablet will eventually just run out of energy.
Right.
And if you put like energy crystals next to it, they just drain, and no one knows how or why and where the energy's going. It doesn't seem to absorb energy. Well, like it kind of does, but it also doesn't seem to store that energy. and it's not releasing it anywhere. As far as I can
Right.
tell, it's almost like an energy black hole that just you put it next to a thing and it just sort of slowly siphons energy out of it. And apparently, the people who discovered this ended up like working out that they really didn't. They just felt really lethargic whenever they were in the same room as it.
Oh, oh wow, okay.
It seems to drain all energy. Like sounds just quieter around it. The room gets colder when it's just left in it, and it just seems to it makes you lethargic. You just don't want to do anything. It just seems to drain all forms of known energy, all known forms of energy.
Including stamina, apparently. Fuck. Okay.
Chemical.
That's true. Okay.
Yeah, it seems to just sort of suck the energy out of things.
What like pre-orby device was it part of? Have I ever heard of like what?
It wasn't
That
part of a
site.
device. It was just dug up on a ruined site. The site itself, you don't get any information on.
Do I know
Unfortunately,
anything about it? Because if it's like an archaeological find about pre-orby, I might have.
Yeah, it's in a region you've been near-ish before. Go ahead and give me a knowledge priori, both of you.
What? Okay. Right.
Historical priori.
Right. Give me 2 seconds.
Let Lisa roll first, probably,
Sure.
because she's got the
18.
+7. Yeah.
18 and
1 second. Submit. It's +4, I believe.
Mhm.
And that should do the trick. No.
18 and 13. Seraph, you don't know of this, but Theo.
Did I read about it in pre-orby weekly?
Something like that, yeah. You essentially have. You don't know much, but oh yeah, this thing wasn't actually all that long ago. I think I remember hearing about this when they dug it up. And it just ticks off something in your mind. It's like, oh yeah, I heard about that. The strange thing was, the site they found had nothing else at it. It seemed to be just essentially a stone box with this crystal in it. And it was really weird because that's not a thing that the Priorbi tend to do. And it doesn't sort of fit any of their things. But the architecture apparently looked Priorbi. But as far as anyone could tell, it was just a box with a crystal in it. And there were some theories, maybe it's like a temple, but no one was really too convinced about that. It was just...
So it's like it's sort of questionable whether it is actually pre-orbi or maybe someone pretending like using the architecture, but
yeah, it could be some kind of mimicry. Another thing they have done is they haven't damaged it at all. So it hasn't been able to be carbon dated, because you need to take a sample for that. They haven't dated it, but spectral analysis shows it also doesn't have any carbon in it at all, which means you can't carbon date it. But the ruins are made of rock, so you can't carbon date those either.
Carbon data only goes
so
so
is this-
far back.
why wouldn't
this-
you be able to carbon date rock?
Because essentially the rock, you would get the date the rock was formed, not the date the rock was built.
Right.
Because it's whenever the input of carbon stops is what the date you'll get from carbon dating.
Yeah.
Also,
So it only lasts like 20,000 years.
it's also
yeah,
is it like, does someone have this, or is this still at the site?
It's not at this site anymore. You can't get you don't know who has it now.
Right.
From this, but you get the.
Do I have any idea who was the original person that picked it up, or dug it up?
It was discovered. The facility itself was discovered as appearing to be like a dead scan point by an ACS ship, and then thus was brought to the. Oh god, hang on, let me pull up the name of them. It was the. So that's not the one here. Where is it?
Oh,
right, the
Rick is
AEEI.
snoozing.
Damn it, Rick.
The AEEI?
Yes, the AEEI, which is the Alliance Expansion and Exploration Initiative, I believe, something like that. It's in there somewhere.
Are
But
they like the famous? like?
They are basically a government set-up body that work very close with the Allied Cartographic Society to be sort of part of the initiative to colonize the frontier. And whenever the ACS encounter weird things like this, technically they're supposed to report it to the AEI, who then will take it and will make sure whatever scientists are required get there, because they have a lot of science behind them, because they are always doing like geo-surveys and that kind of stuff, and so they have a lot of equipment. So whenever this stuff is brought up on the frontier, the AEI get their hands on it most of the time.
Do I like them?
They are pretty open. They are government funded and seem to be afactional, I believe the term would be. They have no bias towards any of the factions, so they're a pretty decent people most of the time.
Okay, that's good.
Most of the time.
There's always outliers.
Rick, you're snoring.
That's... Hold on. Right.
Yeah, just
this is a thing that... No, hang on. This is the thing Lilo hasn't observed. Allow me to amuse
Correct
you with
timing.
my amazing... right now. Welcome.
Welcome back, Rick.
Hi, Rick.
What?
He dozed off.
You were snoring.
You sound so dumb.
Well,
You need your bed.
Right?
Yeah. Right.
It's
Right.
do you have work on Saturdays as well?
No,
so
Rick,
did I
just
work on what?
It's fine. Don't
To be fair,
use your brain too much.
it's like past midnight, so.
Yeah. We'll be
Yeah.
wrapping up shortly, so...
Yeah, fair.
Okay. So... is there anything else you want to research?
Can I contact
Oh.
Johnny, by the way, Tom, and try to get the videos of us talking to the distant knights?
Oh, yeah.
If they have them.
Yeah, you can certainly try.
Yeah.
I can't think of any reason Johnny would ever refuse that. So, yes, you can get your hands on those.
Yeah, that's fine. No.
There are 3 people that come up, that through all of these things. One person that you have forgotten, Leo Denny Carrieth.
Who's that again?
That was the scientist they sent with you.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
There was him. There was the completely useless person you took the piss out of,
Yeah.
the comms officer, and there was the admiral for the Distant Night Fleet. Those last 2, probably dead from what you know, and Leo Denny Carrieth you've basically not talked to in a long time.
Yeah.
Is he a famous scientist?
No, you wouldn't know him. He's basically just one of the ACS like low level lab assistant type people. He was just sent with them because the entire fleet disappeared, and they were like, "What?" Yeah, it's kind of what happened. The entire fleet disappeared. They're like, "What the hell just happened?" And so they...
but like the difference, to give you an explanation here, what happens is we went into slip space or whatever it's called, warp, and only us and the distant knights came out of warp.
Yeah, there was a whole like fleet, it's like 50 ships strong, and only 2 ships came out of warp. And I'm like, what?
And another one landed on a planet. Like,
yeah, they found one that like nosedived into a planet.
and
That's
every single
fun.
other one's gone.
Yeah, and all the other ones vanished. And that should not have happened. No idea why. And that has been referred to as the Distant Nights Catastrophe, because they were set out to find a ship called the Distant Suns, that had disappeared like in the region 6 months prior. And they were like, "Oh, we're going to set up this big exploration with it, like a huge capital ship and everything." And they just did the whole thing just vanishes, and like, what the fuck?
Yeah,
And the distant
There's
Nights, they had
no-
like one conversation with it, and then it just disappeared as well.
it got
as far as
hijacked.
Yeah, it got hijacked by pirates. As far as these guys know, and as far as everyone else knows, it just disappeared.
Yeah.
So, That was that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll be able to get those. Is there anything anyone else wants to do, in particular during these the 2 days then?
Do we have comms? Do we?
Yes, you can. You have comms for each other.
Okay. Call call Kit and ask him what happened.
Okay. Hex, you know you're muted? Question mark.
Yes, yes, I am.
Right. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Kit, you get a call from Ray.
There you go.
Have at it.
Next up. Need some backup.
Well, Kit, while I was shooting a little, I met a dude. He was like a dulac, pitch black, very short.
Ooh, like
Do you
white,
know him?
white shirt.
Well, I kind of met him and he talked with me and he gave me some tips about the ring world.
Ooh.
And he mentioned you, and I was just
Oh.
wondering.
My boss makes explosives.
Ah,
He's one of the. He's a guy that I know from a guy. Well, I didn't know him, but guy from a guy from a guy, my guy from a guy kind of thing.
okay, I
Really shady
see.
dude.
May I ask what kind of explosions? Like, how far do I need to step away from you?
Not anything more than normal. Mostly just like stuff that doesn't use electrical power to detonate stuff. No electrical parts. Just like in case we get into like the thing that did like the whole power output thing.
So you still can blow up the ship.
Yeah.
I see.
At least we have something to defend ourselves with.
Anyway, have you got any information about the ring worlds?
No.
Well,
Idiots.
Did you just call to glow?
Should I? Doesn't the professor do all of that thing? I assume the professor would know the stuff.
Oof.
I mean, why not still inform ourselves?
Because it's worried.
Anyway, would you be up to, like, check out this one area? It looks like a landing platform, like a cylinder or something.
Yeah.
Okay, sure.
Now we'll get over there.
Okay. See you there.
I will head it back out of the ship and yeah.
Okay.
Do
So-
you tell me that she phones or anything? Because I would probably be at the. Oh fuck. Because I would have went to go research then.
Rip.
Feels bad.
Failure of communication.mp4.
But
So,
you would after.
I'm just
our
there
day of
stocking up the
researching.
ship.
I just
I mean,
want
like it just like you would hear a kid coming out of this room, which is takes like a minute.
I'm
You
just
might
walking in
also
with.
see he has a bit extra bulk around his jacket. Now that
Right, I'm
if you actually see him, then you probably see on the internal cameras he has a bit more. Like he's taken at least his backup, like his backup grenades and his backup grenades with him.
Yeah, I would be on the ship. I would be going questioning that. Where are you going?
Right, like wanted me to like help check out a landing pad. I think, yeah.
Okay. Have you got grenades on you?
No.
Take the grenades out.
Pull out the backup grenades, but like clear in front.
And the other two?
Still have one grenade left. Yeah, so.
I keep on going until you finally got everything but 2 flash grenades.
What last grenade? Yeah, it had like 5 grenades on them.
Yeah. That's a bit excessive. Okay, so where are you going?
I would assume I get the location from Ray at this point, and just show him it.
Yeah, I
You
assume
doing
you
it with her
just
there?
sent him a ping.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah.
You doing anything there with her?
She would just check it out. Something about Ring Worlds. I don't know.
Ah, fuck it, I'll tag along.
Okay.
By the way, on leaving the ship, I'll get someone to buy a bunch of lunch bars, etc. for us, supplies. By the way.
Okay. Go ahead and stick like 100 credits into it.
Yeah, that'll do.
Yeah.
Grab some of the salty ones.
Also, did we eventually manage to buy the batteries, or was that not?
Yes, I've got them. If you
Right,
need them, I'll
good.
give you them.
Right, cool.
Yeah, if you wanna, like put in for some more batteries, for something that will help you, you want like class 3, maybe class 4.
Alright,
How
never
much
mind.
would those
Put that
cost?
then.
They start getting expensive. Class 4s are 125 credits each. Class 3 is 25 each.
2,500.
No, just 25.
Just 25. Okay.
Yargon, can you recharge crystals?
Yes,
No.
you can.
Oh, you can?
Oh!
Yeah,
Okay.
they're not disposable.
Oh,
No,
shit.
you recharge them. Yeah.
Oh shit. I may have overbought some of my level 1 crystals.
How many crystals would I need? Level 3 crystals, that is, to fully charge me.
To fully charge you, you probably want like 20, 30. Somewhere
20.
Somewhere in that range. You're looking at close to 30, honestly.
30. Okay, let's just say 30 for the sake of formal favor. And you said 25.
Yeah, it's like 750 credits.
750?
Yeah.
What about the level 4 batteries? How would they be faster or better, more?
They hold a
efficient?
lot more, and they would be faster as well, yeah.
So then
like,
maybe
how
get
many?
level 4 ones because you need less.
Yeah. How much is the how much, like, how many of the level 4 batteries would I need to be?
About 10.
About 10? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like 10,000. I don't have that much money.
Yeah, that's
No,
more.
it's 1,250, but yeah, it is
Oh,
more.
okay.
I would go with the 750.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the 750. I still want to keep some money on me.
Sure.
Can I see if there's any historical precedent to the Distant Nights catastrophe?
You don't even need a roll. Yes, there is. Ships disappear all the time. It's just a thing that happens.
In that same way?
Well, when they disappear, they're sort of never found. They just vanish.
Yeah, but like during warp to that specific area.
Well, sort of who knows, because they just, like, leave and are never seen again. Like, no one knows what happened to them. They might have come out of warp at some point. Might have dropped out of warp early. I mean, pulled out of warp, because that's a thing that can be done. There's too many variables for you to actually really tell, really. It's just...
What about a historical precedent of an entire fleet disappearing?
Yeah, 2 incidents that would immediately spring to mind with that roll. And they would be...
I haven't rolled, so...
Yeah, with that roll, there would be 2 incidents that would immediately spring to mind as to anyone who knows basically anything about history. The first one is a very, very old fleet. It would be during the First Stellar War. That it was a fleet. It was the second largest Terran fleet. Just disappeared. It went into warp, which is particularly slow warp, but they went into warp. They were headed directly for Venzikar, and they were just never seen again. They never arrived. They had forward scouts, and the forward scouts, like all along their path, and there were 5 different forward scout posts they were supposed to pacify. Passed by the first 2, then they just never arrived at the 3rd. Not a single ship in the fleet was ever seen again. No one knows what happened. After the war, when the alliance was formed and everything from the war was declassified, all of the military history from both sides, as part of that, it turned out, because it was always assumed that the Dulac had destroyed them, they intercepted them, destroyed them. Turned out they never even knew they were coming. They just vanished without a trace. and it was never solved. That was 150,000 years ago. There was, significantly more recently, another fleet. This one would again be a military fleet, or militarized fleet, that disappeared on the borders of, like, between two of the arms, up here. Now, next to fucking... Why can I not zoom in on this map? Why are you being like this? Next to Illyria, between Illyria and Starlink 1, there was a fleet in this sort of gap here in this void that it was a oddball fleet, so they've got just a selection of random ships that are all military ships, all RS designation, that are specifically designed to basically be a support fleet that backs up a major combat fleet that recently just went into warp, and only one ship ever came out of warp, and there was no explanation as to why ever given. The whole thing was hush-hushed by the military, and that was about 150 years ago.
When was the one before then? Sorry?
Like 150,000 years ago?
Yeah, like First Stellar War, so. It's just sort of notable because it was like, oh, no one really knew what was going on, it was a time of war, and everyone thought it was. And so it was kind of just glossed over, oh shit, we just lost a big fleet. They shouldn't have even known we were coming. And it turned out they didn't. They never saw them coming. It would have been, like, a lethal blow. It probably would have crippled the Dulac war effort, and it just never arrived. The fleet just disappeared.
Do I know what the oddball crew was going to do? Does anyone know? Like, is there any records of, like, what their mission was, or?
The whole thing is pretty hush-hush. You do get that the fleet was en route from Illyria, where they had picked up a number of ships, and they were en route to Starlink 1 to do repairs. Because Starlink 1 had recently basically been hit by a big fucking meteor, which happens sometimes, and a crisis has been declared, and the fleet was supposed to go help repair the station, and only one ship arrived. Which was a
one
small
was a
freighter.
war effort, one was a repair crew, and then one was a rescue mission.
Yes.
How many ships were in each of the fleets?
In the First Stellar War fleet, there would have been 153 ships. The most notable, and the only ship whose name you'll be able to find anywhere on record, I need to look through a file to find, because it's in here somewhere, and it is a very important ship. Begins with a Y, I remember that.
I assume someone is actually making notes of this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can hear typing, so I'm assuming Lewis is making.
Yeah.
No, I'm only taking notes on stuff I find out directly, if that makes sense.
So much to take notes of this then.
Okay, well, I'm gonna be telling you all of this.
Oh god, I wasn't paying attention. So 3 disappearances. One
was 150,000 years ago, on their way to Venzikar, and it was a Terran fleet of like 150 ships. Did you say? What was it? 400 ships?
153.
153 ships.
It was the second largest battle fleet in the First Stellar War on the Terran side. It was would have been a devastating blow to the Dulac had it arrived. They'd have been able to properly siege the Dulac homeworld well and properly mess them up, but they just never got there.
How many was on the second? The
oddball fleet was only 23.
And there was an oddball fleet who were on their way from Illyria to Starlink 1.
Yes.
And they were doing repairs.
Yeah, they were sent to do repairs at Starlink 1. They picked up supplies at Illyria en route.
What was the purpose of Starlink 1?
Starlink 1 is a station basically designed to be a midpoint between Draconis and the 8th and 7th ring worlds. It's a trade hub.
How many souls on board?
23 ships, did you say?
Yeah. On Starlink 1, you're looking at around...
on the fleets.
Oh, on the fleets. On the one way in the past, the First Stellar War, you're not going to get a number. Starlink 1 it would be around 30,000 people that went missing.
And how many on the...
The Distance Night catastrophe is... You're not going to get a specific number. It's pretty vague, but you're looking at around, I would say, because it's much smaller ships, you're only looking at around like 300-400 people going missing.
Okay. I was just trying to build up correlations.
And that original one, the 153 ships, I'm assuming they were all big battleships.
There weren't very many big battleships back then. It was much smaller battleships most of the time. They were sort of as big as they could get, but it by anything that you would consider now, like your destroyer now, would be not too much smaller than their biggest battleship.
Right.
Not
Okay.
actually huge.
So it wouldn't be that many people then.
Yeah, well, not too much smaller, other than the one ship with the name I'm still trying to find, which was the flagship of the Terran fleet back then, which disappeared. Can't find its name anywhere. It should be in here.
So roughly 10 people per ship, roughly-ish.
For the...
Battleship, battle...
No, that's for... Wait. No, you've no idea how many people were lost in that one.
Yeah, but...
But can we make
rough.
an assessment?
Oh, it's
That's what I'm thinking, like,
probably significantly more, because there's more guns, there's more fighters, there's more things. By size, not much bigger than your current ship, but there's going to be a lot more people.
Yeah.
Based on the historical data you've got, you could go into it and like really research it, but it would take a significant amount of time to find all that out.
So the assessment is like maybe like 2,000, 3,000 people?
Yeah, that's a realistic sort of look at it.
Well. Are we going by the way?
Yeah.
Because I totally just fucking spaced on the reason why we were going to the landing pad area.
We
Uh,
found like some information about like tour guides or something about ring worlds.
yeah, there's a guided tour of the ring world.
Right. Should we do
Yeah.
that now, or do you want to do
If
that
wanna-
next?
I think that we should probably do that next session.
Yeah,
It's getting a bit late.
so too.
It's getting pretty late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm dying as well.
Okay. So, as you guys meet up there, unless there's anything quick that anyone else wants to do, should we call it here for the night?
Yeah.
I want to see if I can
Yep.
get some grenades on the way there, but just you might will.
You're not going to be able to get grenades on the way there. Not at this station.
I would definitely stop you if you tried as well. You've got enough.
What on me? I feel so naked.
Well, at
That's
the
right.
end of the 2 days, I'll probably, meet up with Lexie and go, okay, so I did some research about the core worlds, the ring world. I know you don't care, but look, listen, because it's important. And I also found out some other stuff, and then I'm going to have, like, a long lecture. And actually, when I'm lecturing, it's kind of interesting. Like, I was a teacher, so
Yeah.
it's not, like,
I actually take notes to this, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah.
You actually pay attention.
Yeah, because I actually do care, because we're about to go do something stupid, and I don't want to be fucked.
That
So, like,
is fair.
So I
like
tell you everything
Seraph,
I found
even
out
though
about
he
the ring
sounds
world,
like
everything I found out about the president of history of the disappearance of the Distant Knights, and I tell you everything I found out about
yeah.
the and everything. Seraph and I found out about the black crystal thing, talky energy, talky thing.
I found the name of the ship. Haha. The TMS Yaldrich was the first dreadnought class starship.
Can you send me the information about the crystal, by the way? At some point then.
Sure.
Yeah, I think maybe like if you're doing this in like a common area, with it might also be just sitting in on the lecture.
I assume, yeah.
Mostly be taking around these new explosives, but like he's gonna like overhear stuff basically.
I mean, I talk excitedly about history stuff all the time, but when I'm actually sitting down to give a lecture, it is rather interesting because I am a pretty good professor. So like when I'm like, okay, guys, sit down, I have a story. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
At some point, by the way, I'll put up the map with all like the patrols, etc.,
Okay.
and see if there's any sort of
Should
what
we?
the best approaches, etc. are.
Okay. Well, let's get to that next session then, because we'll go do the
It's
actual
getting
planning
really
legwork next session.
fucking late.
So,
Next session, we plan.
at dawn we
Dawn
plan.
we plan.
So,
Yeah.
thanks for playing, guys.
Yeah.
Right?
Hope you all enjoyed and watching
Let's
me.
go to sleep.
It's just me taking notes, isn't it?
I'm taking notes.
Yeah, no, but I'm talking to the video because that's
Oh,
just me
right.
taking notes, isn't it? I see you
Alright.
there. Me from the future.
I might be rewatching it because like
My God.
Yargon,
notes and
Yeah.
stuff.
go to sleep.
I need
Anyway,
to rewatch certain parts about the crystal, I think.
yeah, that's fair. Well, either way, we have all
I'll
the
put
notes.
it in this tonight. Just 1 second.
Cool. Well, we have all the notes. So, this exists, and also thanks for watching. Thanks for playing, guys. I'll yeah, we'll catch you in the next one.